Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajassa Sunantu Saggamukkadang Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Badanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Badanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Badanta. In today's sermon, I'm going to explain the path to Sowanhood from the beginning to the end in very simple, easy to understand English language, as well as I'm going to go very, very slow so that everyone who listens to the sermon will be able to understand it and benefit from it. In explaining the path to Sowanhood, I am going to quote references from 10 sutras, and they are Maha Satara Satipatthana Sutra, Maha Parinibbana Sutra, Rahulavada Sutra, Girimananda Sutra, Dveda Vitakka Sutra, Vitakka Santana Sutra, Sotapanna Sutra, Gihi Sutra, Anapana Sati Samadhi Sutra, and Ratana Sutra. I have divided the sermon into 4 parts. In part 1 of the sermon, I am going to explain 5 important points. And point number 1, what is the essence of Buddhist doctrine? Point number 2, what do we mean by attaining Sowanhood? Point number 3, what are the benefits of attaining Sowanhood and why is it so important for us to attain Sowanhood in this present life? Point number 3, what happens to us if we die without attaining Sowanhood? And point number 5, can we attain Sowanhood in the present day? So let's start with point 1. What is the essence of Buddhist doctrine? Lord Buddha was born as a prince, and his name was Prince Siddhartha Gautama, and he was born in the state of Magadhi, where the spoken language was Magadhi language. So it's important to remember that Lord Buddha's mother tongue was Magadhi, and Lord Buddha preached in Magadhi language. The state of Magadhi now falls into the state of Bihar. And in Bihar state, even today, there are millions of people who speak Magadhi as their mother tongue. So in state of Magadhi, the king was King Suddhodana, Prince Siddhartha's father, and he was a very rich and powerful king. So within 7 days of Prince Siddhartha's birth, he invited 7 astrologers into the palace, treated them with food and drinks, and asked them to predict this Prince Siddhartha's future. 6 out of the 7 astrologers said that if the prince stays in the palace, he will succeed his father to the throne and eventually he will become Sakwiti Raja, and that is the king of the kings in India, or the chief king of India. And if he leaves the palace, he will become a monk and eventually attain Buddhahood. But the seventh astrologer said that the prince will definitely leave the palace and become a monk, and eventually he will definitely attain Buddhahood. So King Suddhodana was very worried after hearing this, because he wanted his firstborn son to succeed him to the throne, and he didn't want the son to leave the palace and become a monk. So he thought, in order to encourage the prince to stay in the palace, he must give the prince all the luxuries that a young man would like to enjoy. So Prince Siddhartha was provided with all the comforts and all the luxuries that a young man would like to enjoy from the age of 16. So from the age of 16, Prince Siddhartha lived a life beyond the wildest dreams of any young man. And after enjoying all these things, after a while, he realized that he was gradually losing interest in these things, and the enjoyment that he got out of them were gradually declining. So after a while, he realized that he was not interested in these things, these material things anymore, and he was dissatisfied, discontented, unhappy, and his mind was suffering. So here there's a very important point that we have to understand. When we suffer, it's our mind that suffers and not the body. And also when we enjoy and we are happy, it's our mind that is happy and not the body. Now let me explain that to you with a couple of examples. When a person undergoes an operation, the anesthetist will first give him anesthesia and make him unconscious, or put his mind to his sleep, or in other words, separate his mind from his body. Then the surgeon will perform the operation on his body, and the patient will not feel anything. He will not feel any pain, because his mind is separated from the body. And once the operation is completed, the anesthetist will bring his consciousness back. In other words, his mind will be reconnected to the body. Then only he will start to feel the pain and the suffering. So it's not the body that was feeling the pain and feeling the suffering, it was the mind. A similar thing happens when we enjoy. For example, let's say there's a person who likes eating pizzas. One day when he's relaxing, he gets his favorite pizza, sits in front of the television, thinking that he is going to really enjoy his pizza while watching television. So before he starts eating the pizza, he turns the television on to find that his favorite TV program that he has been waiting for years is just beginning on the TV. So he sits in front of the TV and start watching the TV program, and he was enjoying it so much, and his mind is glued to the television. And after 1 hour, the TV program was over, and he realized that he had enjoyed the TV program so much, but at the same time he has eaten the entire pizza and he forgot to enjoy the pizza. Now why is that he enjoyed the TV program, only the TV program, and he did not enjoy the pizza? The reason is that the television program, through his eyes and ears, were connected to his mind, and the pizza was not connected to his mind. So he was enjoying the TV program and not the pizza. So it's important to remember when we are unhappy and suffering, it's our mind that is suffering, not the body. Similarly, when we are happy and enjoy, it's our mind that is happy and not the body. So, by the time Prince Siddhartha was 29, he was fed up of all those comforts and material things. He wasn't enjoying them anymore. He wasn't happy about them. And he found himself discontented, dissatisfied, unhappy, and his mind was suffering. And he began to think, what is this suffering and what causes this suffering, whether this suffering can be stopped, and what is the way to stop it. So he started thinking about it by himself. So at that time in India, there were 64 religions, and all these religious leaders were trying to find answers to these four main questions: suffering, reason for suffering, out of suffering, and the way out of suffering. So finally, Prince Siddhartha also decided to go to the forest himself, become a monk, and start looking for answers for these questions. So one fine day, when his wife gave birth to his firstborn son, Rahula, Prince Rahula, Prince Siddhartha left the palace, went to the forest, started wearing a robe, became a monk, and started looking for answers to these four questions. Firstly, he went to several teachers and learnt everything that they knew. And thereafter, he learnt everything about the 64 religions that there was in India at that time. And also these 64 religions had 30 wrong meditation techniques, which these religious leaders and their disciples were following, thinking that these meditation techniques will help them to cleanse their mind, improve their wisdom, and understand the answers to the four main questions. So Prince Siddhartha, by then he was called Bodhisattva. So our Bodhisattva also started to practice these 30 meditation techniques. And he also started giving hardship to his life, what we call Dushkara Kriya. While giving hardship to his life, he practiced these 30 meditation techniques really hard for 6 years, thinking that it will help him to clean his mind, develop his wisdom, and understand the truth. After trying really hard for 6 years, he realized that these 30 meditation techniques are not helping him to achieve his objective. So he decided to give them up, and he went and sat near the Sri Mahabodhi tree, and he started thinking. And he thought long and hard, and finally he discovered his own meditation techniques, which he has explained in Veda Vitakka Sutra and Vitakka Santana Sutra. And by practicing those techniques, he managed to clean his mind and get rid of the three bad elements: attachment, anger, and ignorance, completely out of his mind, develop his wisdom to the highest level, and understood the truth. He found the answers to the four main questions: what is suffering? What is the reason for suffering? Is there a way out of suffering? And what is that way? What is the way out of suffering? So this is what today we call the Four Noble Truths, and the essence of the Buddhist doctrine is the Four Noble Truths. Then I'll go on to point number 2. What do we mean by attaining Sowanhood? Lord Buddha said, attaining Sowanhood means attaining Sang Ma Ditti. In Magadhi language, Sang means the three bad elements: attachment, anger, and ignorance. Ma means completely eliminating or completely getting rid of. Attaining Ditti means fully understanding and getting a clear vision. So Sang Ma Ditti means fully understanding and getting a clear vision of the way in which to get rid of attachment, anger, and ignorance. So it is important to understand that a person who has attained Sammaditthi equals Sowanhood has not got rid of all these three bad elements: attachment, anger, and ignorance. He has only understood and got a clear vision of the way in which, or the path to eliminate attachment, anger, and ignorance. Now, Lord Buddha also said that a person who has attained Sammaditthi equals Sowanhood would have eliminated 3 out of 10 Sangyojana. Sangyojana in English you can say 10 major weaknesses that a person has. He has eliminated 3 out of 10. So roughly you can say, now this is not given in the sutra, but I am just saying roughly, you can say that a person who has attained Sammaditthi equals Sowanhood may have eliminated about 30% of his 3 bad elements: attachment, anger, and ignorance, but 70% is still remaining. So you won't see a lot of difference in a person who has attained Sammaditthi equals Sowanhood. It's only 30% different from the average person. Then point number 3, what are the benefits of attaining Sowanhood and why is it so important for us to attain Sowanhood in the present life? And point number 4, what happens to us if we die without attaining Sowanhood? I'll explain this point number 3 and point number 4 together because they are linked to each other. Now, firstly, what are the benefits? In Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra and also in several other sutras, Lord Buddha has said clearly, also in Ratana Sutra, Lord Buddha said clearly the main benefit that a person who has attained Sowanhood would have is that he will never ever go to Satarapaya for the rest of his samsara. In Ratana Sutra, Lord Buddha said, I am sure most of you have heard of it, Sahavassa Dassana Sampadaya Tayassu Dhamma Jahida Bhavanti Sakkaya Ditti Vichikichikancha Silabbatang Vapi Yachachikinchi Chatu Apaye Hichavitpamutto. Chatu Apaye means Satarapaya, the 4 hells. Hichavitpamutto means he will never ever go to that. So the main benefit that a person will gain by attaining Sowanhood is for the rest of his samsara, he will never ever go to Satarapaya again, irrespective of whether he takes a short time to attain Arahathood and stop the cycle of birth and rebirth, or whether he takes a very long time. Irrespective of the time duration, he will never ever go to Satarapaya again once he has attained Sowanhood. That is the guarantee that Lord Buddha has given. So that is why it is so important for us to attain Sowanhood in order to protect ourselves from this Satarapaya, the 4 hells. Now, on the other hand, what happens to us if we die without attaining Sowanhood? Now, by the time we die, if our sins are more than merits, then sinful thoughts will come to us in the last moment, and we will go straight to Satarapaya, the four hells. On the other hand, if our merits are more than sins, but we have not attained Sowanhood, there's a 99.999 probability that we will be reborn in a place. Let's say if we are reborn in the human world, we'll be born, let's say, to a rich family where we will have all the comforts in life, but there's no Dhamma. For example, we might be born in a rich family in Middle East, where we will enjoy all the comforts of life until the amount of merits that we have brought with us will run out. Once the merits run out, we will be left with the sins. Remember, we always have merits and sins that we have accumulated throughout our samsara. And when a person is born in a place like that, in a rich family, where all the comforts are there, and there is no Dhamma, so basically he will not commit any merits or wholesome activities. Most of the time he will be committing sins and unwholesome activities and accumulating sins. So while he is enjoying life there for a short period, maybe 50 years, 60 years, maximum 80 years, and all those merits that he brought with him will run out and he will be left with the sins. So in order to suffer for those sins, he will be sent to Satarapaya, the four hells. So whichever the way, if we die without attaining Sowanhood, there's more than 99.999% probability that we will end up in the four hells. Lord Buddha explained this with an example. Once he was talking to his disciples. He took some earth into his hand from the ground and asked the disciples whether the earth on the ground or in his hand is greater. Then the disciples said, Venerable Sir, the amount of earth you have in your hand is very little, that the amount of earth we have on the ground is very large. What you have in your hand is less than 0.000%, and what is on the ground is more than 99.9999999%. So Lord Buddha said, similarly, after death, the number of people who go to a good place can be compared to the amount of earth that I have in my hand, and the number of people who will go to a bad place after death can be compared to the amount of earth you find in the ground. So think about it, right? So basically, if we want to be protected from the four hells after death, Lord Buddha said we must attain Sowanhood in the present life. Otherwise, the probability of going to the four hells is more than 99.99999%. And the second benefit of attaining Sowanhood, Lord Buddha said, once a person has attained Sowanhood, he will be mostly committing merits and wholesome deeds, and he will very rarely commit a sin or an unwholesome deed. Even if that happens, he will realize it straight away, and he will ask for forgiveness, and he will do the needful to get forgiveness from that. On the other hand, so as a result of that, the amount of suffering he will have to undergo for the rest of his samsara, irrespective of whether he takes 1 year or 1 billion years to go to Nibbana, the amount of suffering that he has to undergo can be compared to tiny little pieces of stones that we can hold in our palm. And comparing that to the amount of suffering that will have to be undergone by a person who has not attained Sowanhood, and that person will have to suffer, the amount of suffering he will undergo can be equivalent to the tallest mountain in the world, the Himalayas mountain. So compare the tallest mountain in the world to tiny pieces of 7 tiny pieces of rocks that you can hold in your hand. That is the comparison of amount of suffering these two categories will have to undergo. So by giving these examples, what Lord Buddha has explained here is a person, once he has attained Sowanhood, for the rest of his life, he will have to hardly undergo any suffering, whereas a person who is dying without attaining Sowanhood, he will have to undergo immense amount of suffering for the rest of his samsara before he attains Sowanhood. So that's why it's so important for us to attain Sowanhood in the present life. Now, during Lord Buddha's time, in Savatnuara, the city where he spent most of his time, the population was said to be over 60 million. And out of that 60 million, over 90% were Buddhists. And out of that 90%, over 75 had attained Sowanhood. And out of that 75%, over 70% were lay people, and monks and nuns were less than 5%. So over 70% of the people those days managed to attain Sowanhood. So there's no reason why we can't do it today, which is my next point. Can we attain Sowanhood in the present day? According to Lord Buddha's pure Buddhist doctrine, we can certainly attain Sowanhood in the present day, in the present life. Because Lord Buddha said, as long as Lord Buddha's pure Buddhist doctrine is alive and well, anyone can attain Sowanhood, Sakuddhagamihud, Anagamihud, and Arahathood and go to Nibbana. So without going all that far, if we are talking of just attaining the first stage, Sowanhood, and protecting ourselves from Satarapaya for the rest of our samsara, we certainly can do that in this life. All we have to do is follow the path that Lord Buddha has explained in Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra and practice the meditation techniques that Lord Buddha has explained in Veda Vitakka Sutra and Vitakka Santana Sutra, which I will explain in detail later in the sermon. Now, in part 2 of the sermon, I am going to explain 4 points. In Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra, Lord Buddha said, in order to attain Sowanhood, a person must successfully complete 4 steps. And step 1 is Kalyana Mitra Sevana. Kalyana Mitra Sevana, now earlier we were taught that Kalyana Mitra Sevana is associating a good friend. That is also a type of Kalyana Mitra Sevana. But here in Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra, what Lord Buddha meant was Kalyana Mitra Sevana means associating a friend who is capable of explaining Lord Buddha's pure Buddhist doctrine, which will help you to eliminate the three bad elements: attachment, anger, and ignorance. That is what Kalyana Mitra Sevana means. The second step is Sirisat Dharma Shravana, and that is listening to pure Buddhist doctrine explained by that Kalyana Mitra. Then the next point is step 3, practicing mindfulness according to Lord Buddha's pure Buddhist doctrine. And step 4, through the practice of mindfulness, eliminate the three bad elements: attachment, anger, and ignorance. Develop your wisdom to the highest level and use that wisdom to understand Dhamma and the Four Noble Truths. In this case, develop your wisdom to a certain level, understand Dhamma, and attain Sammā Diṭṭhi equals Sowanhood. Now this step number 3 and 4, how to practice mindfulness, and through that practice how to develop wisdom, Lord Buddha has explained in 2 very important sutras in Majjhima Nikaya. The first sutra is Dveda Vitakka Sutra, and the second sutra is Vitakka Santana Sutra. Now I got the English Tripitaka here with me, translated by Bhikkhu Jnanamodi and Bhikkhu Bodhi, who are 2 eminent monks, and this is an excellent translation. So I am going to read this, the first sutra to you, Dveda Vitakka Sutra, and explain it paragraph by paragraph. So here what Lord Buddha has explained is what he has done when he was Bodhisattva, just before he attained Buddhahood, while he was a Bodhisattva, what he did from that moment till the moment he attained Buddhahood, the procedure or the meditation techniques that he followed, he has explained beautifully in this Dveda Vitakka Sutra. I am going to read this sutra to you and explain it paragraph by paragraph. Please listen to it very carefully, because this is where the secret is hidden. Dveda Vitakka Sutra, 2 kinds of thought. Thus have I heard, on one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus: Bhikkhus, Venerable Sir, they replied, the Blessed One said. In paragraph 1, Venerable Ananda is explaining once when Lord Buddha was at Anathapindika's monastery, Lord Buddha addressed the bhikkhus and delivered this sutra. Then second paragraph, bhikkhus, before my enlightenment. Now remember, it's very important. Lord Buddha is saying, bhikkhus, before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva, it occurred to me. Suppose that I divide my thoughts into 2 classes. Then I set on one side thoughts of sensual desire, thoughts of ill will, and thoughts of cruelty, and I set on the other side thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of non-ill will, and thoughts of non-cruelty. So here Lord Buddha is saying to his disciples, before he was enlightened, while he was still a bodhisattva, this idea came to him. Suppose he thought I should divide my thoughts into 2 categories, good thoughts and bad thoughts. Good thoughts are thoughts involving loving kindness, equanimity, and opposite of jealousy. And bad thoughts are thoughts involving attachment, anger, and ignorance. So here he is saying, suppose that I divide thoughts into two classes. I set on one side thoughts of sensual desire, thoughts of ill will, and thoughts of cruelty. Those are bad thoughts involving attachment, anger, and ignorance. And thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of non-ill will, thoughts of non-cruelty on the other side. Those are good thoughts involving loving kindness, equanimity, and opposite of jealousy. In the next paragraph, Lord Buddha is explaining, as I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of sensual desire arose in me. I understood thus, this thought of sensual desire has arisen in me. This leads to my own affliction, to others' affliction, and to the affliction of both. It obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana. When I considered this leads to my own affliction, it subsided in me. When I considered this leads to others' affliction, it subsided in me. When I considered this leads to the affliction of both, it subsided in me. When I considered this obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana, it subsided in me. Whenever thought of sensual desire arose in me, I abandoned it, I removed it, I did away with it. So here in this paragraph, Lord Buddha is explaining, he was concentrating on his mind and suddenly a bad thought came into his mind, the thought of sensual desire. So without taking this thought into his mind straight away and cultivating that thought, he analyzed this thought. He looked at this thought and he saw that this thought is not good for him, not good for the others. As it's not going to help him to improve his wisdom, and it's going to obstruct his path to Nibbana. So this thought is not good, and he decided to get rid of it. So what he is saying is, he abandoned it, he removed it, he did away with it. He completely got rid of that bad thought without taking it into his mind and cultivating it. Then in the next paragraph, Lord Buddha is explaining another point, because whatever a bhikkhu frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of his mind. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of sensual desire, he has abandoned the thoughts of renunciation to cultivate thoughts of sensual desire. And then his mind inclines to thoughts of sensual desire. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of ill will, upon thoughts of cruelty, he has abandoned the thoughts of non-cruelty to cultivate the thoughts of cruelty. And then his mind inclines to thoughts of cruelty. So in this paragraph, what Lord Buddha is saying is, if a person is thinking of bad thoughts all the time, thoughts involving attachment, anger, and ignorance, then his mind gets used to it, and his mind is more inclined to bring back these bad thoughts back to his mind. In the next paragraph, Lord Buddha is explaining this further with an example. Just as in the last month of the rainy season, in the autumn when the crop is thickened, a cowherd would guard his cows by constantly tapping and poking them on this side and that side with a stick to check and curb them. Why is that? Because he sees that he could be flogged, imprisoned, or fined or blamed if he led them astray into the crop. So too I saw in unwholesome states danger, degradation, and defilement, and in wholesome states the blessings of renunciation, the aspect of cleansing. So Lord Buddha is explaining about the value of good thoughts and bad thoughts and how we manage them, comparing that to a cowherd boy, how he looks after the cowherd during the harvest season. During the harvest season, when he's taking the cows through the paddy field, on the road through the paddy field, he will make sure that the cows will not get into the field to eat the crop, because if they do, then the cowherd boy will be punished for it. He will get bad results. So he was careful from not doing that. So in the next paragraph, Lord Buddha is explaining, as I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of renunciation arose in me. I understood thus, this thought of renunciation has arisen in me. This does not lead to my own affliction, or to others' affliction, or to the affliction of both. It aids wisdom, does not cause difficulties, and leads to Nibbana. If I think and ponder upon this thought, even for a night, even for a day, even for a night and day, I see no fear from it. So now Lord Buddha is explaining, while he was concentrating on his mind, this good thought, a thought involving renunciation, which is a thought involving loving kindness, equanimity, and opposite of jealousy. This good thought came to his mind. So without taking this thought straight away to his mind and cultivating it, he looked at this thought, he analyzed it. And then he realized this thought is good for me and is good for the others. And it's going to help me to improve my wisdom, and it's going to help me in my path to Nibbana. So he decided to take that thought in and started cultivating in his mind. In other words, he was thinking about it constantly. He says he was thinking about it all night, and he was thinking about it all day, and he was thinking about it in day and night. And then he felt good about it. He says, I see nothing to fear from it, meaning that he felt good about it. In the next paragraph, he is explaining another point. But with excessive thinking and pondering, I might tire my body. And when the body is tired, the mind becomes disturbed. And when the mind is disturbed, it is far from concentration. So I steadied my mind internally, quieted it, brought it to a singleness, and concentrated it. Why is that? So that my mind should not be disturbed. So Lord Buddha is explaining another point here. What he is saying is, when he was cultivating that thought during the day, during the night, and during the day and night, after a while, maybe after 2-3 days, his body was feeling tired. When the body was tired, his mind was getting disturbed and he couldn't concentrate. He was losing his concentration. So he was determined and got his mind together and got his body together and started to concentrate again. Then in the next paragraph he is explaining, as I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of non-ill will arose in me, a thought of non-cruelty arose in me. I understood thus, this thought of non-cruelty has arisen in me. This does not lead to my own affliction, or to the other's affliction, or to the affliction of both. It aids wisdom, does not cause difficulties, and leads to Nibbana. If I think and ponders upon this thought, even for a day, even for a night, even for a day, even for a night and day, I see nothing to fear from him. So Lord Buddha is explaining again about another type of good thought. He's saying that while he was concentrating on his mind, a thought of non-ill will came to his mind. A thought of non-cruelty came to his mind. So these are good thoughts involving loving kindness, equanimity, and opposite of jealousy. So instead of just taking these thoughts straight away into his mind and cultivating them, he looked at the thoughts and analyzed them. And he realized that these thoughts are good for him and good for the others. And they help him to improve his wisdom and understand Dhamma and find his way to Nibbana. So he decided to take these thoughts in and cultivate them in his mind. And he was thinking about these thoughts during the night, during the day, and during the day and night. And he felt good about it. Now he is explaining another point, but with excessive thinking and pondering, I might tire my body, and when the body is tired, the mind becomes disturbed, and when the mind is disturbed, it is far from concentration. So I steadied my mind internally, halted it, brought it to a singleness, and concentrated it. Why is that? So that my mind should not be disturbed. Again, Lord Buddha is explaining here, when he was cultivating the same good thoughts over and over again, during the night, during the day, and during the day and night, when he does that for several days, his body was feeling tired. And when the body was tired, his mind was not able to concentrate, it was getting disturbed. So he realized that he was determined, he got his body together, got his mind together, and started concentrating again. Then in the next paragraph, he is explaining, bhikkhus, whatever bhikkhu frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of his mind. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of renunciation, he has abandoned the thoughts of sensual desire to cultivate the thoughts of renunciation. And then his mind inclines to thoughts of renunciation. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of non-ill will, upon thoughts of non-cruelty, he has abandoned the thoughts of cruelty to cultivate the thoughts of non-cruelty, and then his mind inclines to thoughts of cruelty and non-cruelty. So basically, in this paragraph, what Lord Buddha is explaining is, if a person is trying really hard and thinking about good thoughts all the time, his mind will get used to it, and his mind will incline to bring back more good thoughts. So in the next paragraph, Lord Buddha is explaining, just as in the last month of the hot season, when all the crop had been brought inside the village, a cowherd would guard his cows while staying at the root of a tree or out in the open. Since he needs only to be mindful that the cows are there, so too there was no need for me only to be mindful that those states were there. So here again Lord Buddha is giving an example. He's saying, for a cowherd boy, when he's looking after his herd, once the crop has been taken into the village, he didn't have to worry about the cows going to the fields and eating the crop, because the crop was not there. So he could sit back at the root of a tree and relax. He only had to make sure that the cows were there. He didn't have to worry about the cows going and eating the crop. So that's the example that Lord Buddha is giving. Now he is saying a very important point. tireless energy was aroused in me, and unremitting mindfulness was established. My body was tranquil and untroubled, my mind concentrated and unified. So when he has been doing this, practicing this mindfulness meditation, basically what he has been doing is the thoughts that come into his mind, he will not take them into his mind straight away, analyze the thought. If it is a bad thought, he will get rid of it completely. If it's a good thought, he will take it in and keep on thinking about it, cultivate that thought in his mind. So when he has been doing this for some time, maybe several days, suddenly he found that tireless energy arose in him. Unremitting mindfulness was established. The body was tranquil, untroubled, mind concentrated and unified. See, something really good happened to him. Tireless energy came with inside, arose in his body. His mindfulness was clear and well established, and his body was tranquil, untroubled, and he could really concentrate. His concentration had improved. In the next paragraph, he is explaining, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, I entered the pond and abided in the first jhana. I directly knew birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived, what had to be done has been done, there is no more coming to any state of being. So basically, what Lord Buddha is saying is, once that happened, he realized that he has attained jhana and he has completely got rid of attachment, anger and ignorance, and he has developed his wisdom to the highest level, and he has attained arahathood, and he will never ever be reborn again. This was the third true knowledge attained by me in the third watch of the night. Ignorance was banished and the true knowledge arose. Darkness was banished and the light arose, as happened in one who abides diligent, ardent and resolute. So what Lord Buddha is saying is basically, if you read between the lines here, you can see what he is saying is, by practicing this mindfulness, anyone who practices this way, diligently, ardently and resolutely, what happened to him could happen to that person as well. That person's mind will be cleaned of attachment, anger and ignorance, and when that happens, his level of wisdom will go up, and once the wisdom goes up, he will be able to understand Dhamma and the truth of the nature, and he will be able to understand the answers to the four main questions, which are suffering, reason for suffering, out of suffering and the way out of suffering. Now here Lord Buddha is explaining in the next paragraph, he is giving a wonderful example. Listen to this, it's so beautiful. Only Lord Buddha can think of an example like this. Suppose, bhikkhus, that in a wooded range there was a great low-lying marsh, near which a large herd of deer lived. Listen to this very carefully, this is a very beautiful example. Then a man appeared desiring their ruin, harm and bondage, and he closed off the safe and good path that led to their happiness, and he opened up a false path, and he put out a decoy and set up a dummy, so that the large herd of deer might later come upon calamity, disaster and loss. But another man came desiring their good, welfare and protection, and he reopened the safe and good path that led to their happiness, and he closed off the false path, and he removed the decoy and destroyed the dummy, so that the large herd of deer might later come to growth, increase and fulfillment. Because I have given this simile in order to convey a meaning. This is the meaning. The great low-lying marsh is the term for sensual pleasure. The large herd of deer is the term for beings. The man desiring their ruin, harm and bondage is the term for Mara the evil one. The false path is the term for the wrong eightfold path. That is, wrong view, wrong intention, wrong speech, wrong action, wrong livelihood, wrong effort, wrong mindfulness and wrong concentration. The decoy is the term for delight and lust. The dummy is the term for ignorance. The man desiring their good welfare and protection is the term for the Tathagata, accomplished and fully enlightened. The safe and good path that led to their happiness is the term for the Noble Eightfold Path. So because the safe and good path that leads to happiness has been reopened by me, the wrong path has been closed off, the decoy removed, the dummy destroyed. What should be done for his disciples out of compassion by a teacher who seeks their welfare and has compassion for them that I have done for you, because there are these roots of trees, these empty huts. Meditate, because do not delay, or else you will regret it later. This is our instructions to you. That is what the Blessed One said. The bhikkhus were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. Look how beautiful this example is. Here Lord Buddha is explaining how he has found the answers to how he found the Four Noble Truths, and how he has explained this to the people, and how he has opened the path to Nirvana, path to Sowanhood, and beyond that, all the way to Nirvana. So this path is open now. No one has closed it yet. For all of you, if you try hard, you don't have to try too hard. If you try little hard, if you study the Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra and this Veda Vitakka Sutra and Vitakka Santana Sutra, that's all you have to study, and that's all you have to practice in order to attain Sowanhood. Because when you practice this meditation technique, understand that you will be automatically fulfilling unlimited number of disciplines. Lord Buddha has said to attain Nirvana, what you have to practice is Sila, Samadhi, Prajna. Sila is Kotyak Sangvara Sila, unlimited number of disciplines. So if you do this, all you are doing is you are only taking in good thoughts and putting out bad thoughts. So you will, if you do that successfully for 24 hours, during that 24 hours, you will not commit a single sin or a single unwholesome deed. You will only commit merits and wholesome deeds. So that means you will be automatically observing unlimited number of disciplines. That's what we call Kotyak Sangvara Sila. So Sila will be fulfilled automatically through this meditation if you practice it properly. Samadhi means, developing, practicing meditation, Prajna, Sila, Samadhi, Prajna. So this is Samadhi, this is practicing Samadhi. And Prajna means developing your wisdom. When you practice this meditation technique, Lord Buddha has explained how your wisdom will be developed and how you will understand the Four Noble Truths. And by practicing this, what Lord Buddha has explained in these sutras will be sufficient, I can guarantee you, for anyone to attain Sowanhood. Now anyone could ask, if only these three sutras are sufficient to attain Sowanhood, why is that Lord Buddha has delivered 17,705 sutras in the Tripitaka? There's a reason for it. When Lord Buddha attained Buddhahood, in India there were 64 religions and there were 30 wrong meditation techniques. And there were millions and millions of people who had been practicing these wrong meditation techniques and got mentally stuck in various places. So after attaining Lord Buddha decided to help these people first. He went to them individually, sometimes individuals, sometimes groups of 4 or 5, sometimes groups of hundreds. He went to them and he delivered the sutra to them, explaining firstly to come out of the hole where they are stuck in, and then to follow a procedure which will help them to eradicate or eliminate their attachment, anger and ignorance gradually, little by little, develop their wisdom and understand Dhamma. So to different people he explained it in different ways so that they can understand how to eliminate attachment, anger and ignorance, develop wisdom and understand Dhamma. So that's why there are so many sutras in the Tripitaka. After Lord Buddha has been doing this for many years, he realized that all those people who practiced the wrong meditation techniques and got stuck in various places, Lord Buddha had helped them to come out of it and attain at least Sowanhood, and some had gone beyond that. So thereafter, the people who were left over were the ordinary people who had not practiced any wrong meditation techniques. So Lord Buddha realized that it will be easier for them to understand Dhamma, and Lord Buddha decided to deliver them one sutra, explaining everything from the beginning to the end, what they should do in order to first attain Sowanhood and then go beyond that and attain Sakudagami, Anagami and Arhathood. And that sutra is called Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra. In that sutra, Lord Buddha is starting with the sutra saying that Ekayano Ayang Bhikkhave Maggo Sattanang Visuddhya. This is the only method, or this is the easiest method, or this is the best method one can use to attain Sowanhood and the rest. So ever since Lord Buddha delivered Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra, all those ordinary people who became Buddhists and wanted to attain Sowanhood followed Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra and attained Sowanhood. Now these two sutras, Dveda Vitakka Sutra and Vitakka Santrana Sutra, explains the meditation techniques which Lord Buddha has briefly described in Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra. Here he is explaining it in more detail so that people can understand it better. So today I have explained one sutra. In my next sermon, which is going to be in 3 weeks' time, I am going to explain the other sutra, Vitakka Santana Sutra, and then I will explain again the meditation techniques in more detail, and time permitting we will practice all those meditation techniques, at least 5 minutes for each technique, so that you will be able to understand them better and you will be able to practice them and get some results out of it. I can guarantee you that if you do it properly, if you understand these 3 sutras correctly, Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra, Dveda Vitakka Sutra and Vitakka Santana Sutra, here Lord Buddha has explained to us from A to Z what we should do in order to attain Sowanhood, Sakudagami, Anagami and Arhathood. So if we want to, without thinking too far up to Arhathood, just try and attain at least Sowanhood in this life and protect yourself from Satarapaya. All you have to do is study these 3 sutras I will help you as much as I can, and you can call me at any time and ask me any questions. If you are serious, I'm ready to help you. That's my job, right? So today, I'm going to stop there, and in my next sermon in 3 weeks' time, I'm going to explain the other sutra, Vitakka Sutra, explain the meditation techniques in detail, and practice them in the sermon. Okay then, now it's time to transfer merits. Next, all these merits that we have accumulated, let's transfer them to all the Brahma gods, all the gods, all the human beings, and all the beings living in the Satarapaya. And with the power of these merits, we wish all of them that they attain Nibbana at the earliest possible. In order to do that, let's all together say this Gatha. Ettavata chammehi sambadam punya sampadam sabbe devanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata chammehi sambadam punya sampadam sabbe bhutanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata chammehi sambadam punya sampadam sabbe sattanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Let's wish all of us attain Nibbana at the earliest possible. In order to do that, let's recite these gathas all together. Imina punya kammena mahame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yava Nibbana pattiya idamme punya kamman asavakya vahan hotu sabba dukkha pamujjatu sad. Finally, let's all together say these gathas in order to ask for forgiveness from the noble triple gem Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achyang kamame bhante buripanya tathagata. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achyang kamame dhamma sandittika kalika. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achyang kamame sangha supatipanna anuttara sad. May the noble triple gem Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha bless you all.